Assalamualaikum and very good day, dear students. Thank you for taking your time to join this video lecture of BTC4205 Industrial Microbiology. And for today's topic, we are going to discuss about industrial production of chemicals by using microorganisms, but we are going to focus on amino acids production. But before we start, let's hear from Professor Dr. Fu Hoiling regarding the introduction of this topic.
Good afternoon all. I would like to share a topic of microbial application in industry, which is related to the industrial production of amino acid by microorganisms. In this topic, you have to learn various types of amino acid, the importance of amino acids, and the application of amino acids in various industry, and also how the amino acid being produced in terms of timeline through the history development of the amino acid production, and also how the amino acid being produced through the extraction method, chemical synthesis method, and also microbial fermentation process. And in microbial fermentation process, there are two processes involved, which involve in the enzyme production or through the fermentation process by using the whole microbial cells. And the strategies also being discussed for the development of producer strains for amino acid production in industry. And also, we try to compare various types of fermentation process can be used for the amino acid production, such as batch fermentation process, feedback fermentation process, and also continuous fermentation process. And pro and con, or the advantage and disadvantage of each process for fermentation will be discussed in detail as well. So, the controversies of amino acid and also future prospect you should know as well towards the end of the lectures. I think that's all that I would like to share with you, and you are welcome to share your questions through the WhatsApp. I will try to answer accordingly.
Thank you so much to Professor Dr. Fu Hoiling regarding the introduction of this topic. So I guess all of you know what is amino acid. Alright, so amino acid contains 20 types. 20 proteinogenic amino acids, where 10 of them are classified as essential and another 10 are classified as non-essentials. Okay, besides that, amino acid can also be categorized based on their characteristics, based on their properties. Alright, so these 20 amino acids have their own properties, have their own characteristics. For example, the amino acids can be categorized based on the polarity. Either they are polar, either they are non-polar. They also can be categorized based on the side chain groups. For instance, either they are aliphatics, either they are aromatics, either they are contain hydroxyl, contain sulfur, and so on. Right, so from these 20 amino acids, D-L-alanine is the first chemically synthesized amino acids. As you can see from this slide, amino acid can also occur in two optical configurations. Either they are L amino acids or either they are D amino acids. So what are the differences between these two? D amino acids are regarded as biologically inactive amino acid in eukaryotes, especially in mammals. And because of that, it is insignificant for eukaryotes, right? And it's also considered as unnatural amino acids. Okay, initially, these D amino acids had been known to only carry out a few roles, right? For instance, it has been known as a component, as one of the components of peptidoglycan layer of bacterial cell walls, and it also has been incorporated in antibiotics, right? But started 1990s. People started to explore more applications of these amino acids. For instance, it started to serve as co-agonist of NMDA receptor in mammalian brains, and because of that, it had been known to carry out various brain functions, especially in mammals. Alright, it also been reported to be present in various types of foods and beverages, and their presence in these food and beverages has been said to be to improve the characteristics of foods and beverages. But as I mentioned before, because of this insignificant activity for eukaryotes, because it's considered as biologically inactive, the roles of the amino acids not widely reported as many as L amino acids. So what is L amino acid? Right, so L amino acids occur naturally in eukaryotes and it's considered biologically active. And because of this, L amino acids have been found to be involved in many roles in eukaryotes, especially for mammals, and have been widely and largely commercialized. Okay, so what are the applications of amino acid? As you can see here in this slide, various applications including livestock industry, food industry, pharmaceutical, and cosmetic. Alright, so among these four industries, which one is the biggest market for amino acid? Alright, so the biggest share or the biggest market share for amino acid is for production of monosodium glutamate, or we call it as MG, or the famous one is Ajinomoto, right? So glutamate acid. Alright, so more than 1.5 million tons of MSG has been produced every year worldwide. So it's a very big market. Alright, so the second amino acid that has the biggest market is actually L-lysine. You can see here, L-lysine for livestock industry. But it actually also has a little bit application for human in food, right? But of course, the biggest in feedstock. Alright, so for L-lysine, it has been produced more than 0.75 million tons every year. It's quite big, right? And the third amino acid that has been produced commercially in larger scale is methionine, right? So methionine is actually the sulfur-containing amino acid, and it is actually the most limiting amino acid in conventional poultry feed. Right? For example, if you feed the animal with plant-based diets, right, the concentration of this methionine usually very, very low, right? So that's why in this kind of diet, when you are feeding the animals with plant-based diets, you need to supplement, all right, the methionine in their diets, right, to improve their growth performance. All right, so for methionine, more than 0.5 million tons have been produced every year. Okay, and the fourth biggest market for amino acid is threonine, right? So threonine has been produced more than 70,000 tons per year, and it also has been used widely in pig and also in the poultry diets. Right, how about the tryptophan? So the tryptophan is the fifth biggest amino acid, five biggest market of amino acid, and it is used in the livestock as a feed supplement. And besides that, it also has been used in the pharmaceutical industry, especially for this production of hydroxytryptophan. The hydroxytryptophan has been used as a drug for treatment of depression. Right? The sixth biggest market of amino acid is L-phenylalanine. Right? So this amino acid has been used in man and also in livestock as well. Right? So, but except ruminant. Okay, and the major application of L-phenylalanine is actually for production of aspartame. You can see here, aspartame. Alright, so what is aspartame? Aspartame has been used as sugar substitute. It's actually 200 times as sweet as sucrose, right? And it also been known as low-calorie sweetener in diet drink or in food, right? And for this L-phenylalanine, more than 18,000 tons has been produced annually, right? So another application in cosmetic, for instance, as natural moisturizing factors to add for the moisturizing effect to the skin. Okay, I would like to share with you one of the biggest company in amino acid production in Asia, Okay, the company called CJ Bio. Okay, CJ Bio is actually Korean company, but they have one branch in Malaysia, specifically in Kerteh, Terengganu, and they are producing the amino acid called as best amino acid, right? So when you click at the best amino acid, you can see various types of L amino acids have been produced by CJ Bio. For instance, L-lysine, L-methionine, L-tryptophan, L-threonine, L-valine, L-arginine, okay, L-histidine, and L-isoleucines. These amino acids can be used to formulate the feed diet for various kinds of animals, right? So, for instance, if I choose, for example, L-methionine as a product. So what is L-methionine? Alright, so L-met is an essential amino acid, right? It's very, very important for animals' diet. Alright, so it is considered as the first limiting amino acid in poultry and aqua feed, and the second limiting amino acid in swine feed. You can see the description here. For example, in chicken, methionine is the first limiting amino acid. However, in swine, it is a second limiting amino acid. However, it also depends on the diet that you give to your animals. For instance, if you give maize, all right, if you give maize as the diet for chicken, for example, so it's actually the first limiting amino acid is lysine, right? If you give soybean meal to chicken, the first limiting amino acid is methionine. Alright, if you give fish meal to chicken, the limiting amino acid is arginine. So you need to know what types of diets that you give to your animals and what they are lacking of. You need to formulate this diet by supplementing these types of amino acids. Okay, how amino acids can be produced? Right, as you can see from this slide, 3 methods can be used to produce amino acids. The first one is extraction, right? The second one is chemical synthesis, and the third one is microbial, through fermentation or through enzymatic synthesis. Okay, however, the selection of method, it depends on these characteristics. The first one is availability of raw materials, especially when you're using extraction method. So when you want to extract, of course you need to have source, right? So for example, you have the protein-rich material that containing high concentration of amino acids. So you need to extract them. Okay, I give example, plant material. So when you want to extract the amino acid from plant material, of course you need to have lots of plants. And in order to have lots of plants, you need to have very big plantation. So this method is actually not really reliable because you really need to rely on the availability of raw materials. Alright. Okay, the second is the process. The process must be economic. Alright, so I've mentioned to you so many times already, when we are talking about industrial production, you always need to think about the cost, about the profit. Alright, so the process needs to be economical, right? So that you can get profit. Right. And the third one is environmental regulations. So this is very important that you comply with the environmental regulations, especially when you are using chemical synthesis. So you are using lots of chemical. You need to make sure that whatever that you do, you need to comply with these regulations. And of course, the fourth one is the market sizes. So, for example, which amino acid have bigger application? For example, glutamic acid, right, have bigger application, so the market sizes is bigger. Okay, so how about the production of amino acid using chemical synthesis? Alright, so the use of chemical synthesis actually has been applied until now. Right, so for example, production of glycine, D-L-alanine, D-L-methionine, D-L-cysteine still have been produced using chemical synthesis. But please be noted that for production of amino acids by using chemical synthesis, usually it is in the waste meat mixture. So what is waste meat mixture? Alright, so it is actually in the mixture form. It present in L and in D form. Alright, so if you are okay for the application of waste meat mixture, So then you can use chemical synthesis. But most application, they wanted to have pure L form of amino acid. So when you want to have L amino acid in pure form, when you got D amino acid, you need to convert them into L amino acid. So additional one step, right? Okay, so how about this microbial synthesis? All right. So most amino acid, except for glycine, L-methionine, L-cysteine, and L-serine, except these four, most of them can be commercially manufactured by fermentation process or by enzymatic synthesis. And in fact, Corynebacterium glutamicum has been used since mid of 1950s for production of L-glutamic acid. Okay guys, that's all for today for the topic on industrial production of amino acids by microorganisms. Okay, if you have noticed, I only cover a few slides that I believe require further explanation. But I hope you can go through the slides that I have uploaded earlier in PetraBlast. So please go through and please try to understand. But of course, if you have any questions to ask, anything to discuss, you can always either post it in forum in PetraBlast, or you can also, if you have very limited internet access, you can also WhatsApp us to ask anything regarding this topic. Okay, so I hope to see you again in the next lecture, and until then, bye.